The dust on Valos Prime had not been disturbed for 3 million years. Dr. HFY knew this because her scanner told her so, beeping steadily as she walked through the ruins of what had once been a great city. The Kethmori scientist adjusted her breathing mask and looked around at the broken towers that reached toward the pale orange sky. "Another dead world," muttered her assistant, Krovtal, as he kicked at a piece of rubble. "Why do we keep coming to these places?" HFY did not answer immediately. She had been asking herself the same question for the past 6 months. The Galactic Archaeological Council sent them to dig through the bones of dead civilizations, looking for artifacts and technology that might be useful. Most of the time they found nothing but broken pottery and rusted metal, but today felt different. Her scanner was making a new sound, a low humming that she had never heard before. She followed the sound deeper into the ruins, past collapsed buildings and cracked streets. The humming grew louder as she walked. "Doctor," called Krovtal from behind her. "The sun is setting. We should head back to the ship." 5 more minutes, HFY replied, not looking back. The scanner was almost singing now, its display showing energy readings that made no sense. According to the device, there was something ahead that was still active, still powered after millions of years. She found it in what might have been a temple or a library. The building was mostly intact, its walls covered with symbols that her translation device could not read. In the center of the main chamber, sitting on a simple stone pedestal, was a crystal. The crystal was beautiful. It was about the size of HFY's head, perfectly clear, and it glowed with a soft blue light. Inside the crystal she could see patterns of light moving like liquid fire. "By the 7 moons," whispered Krovtal, who had caught up to her. "What is that thing?" HFY approached the crystal carefully. Her scanner was screaming now, showing energy levels that should have been impossible. The crystal was not just powered, it was containing more energy than a small star. "It's a data storage device," she said, studying the readings. "But the technology is completely unknown. This is older than anything in our databases." She reached out to touch the crystal, then stopped. What if it was dangerous? What if touching it would destroy the data inside? What if it would destroy them? But her curiosity was stronger than her fear. She placed her hand on the crystal's surface. The crystal pulsed once, and suddenly the air around them filled with light. Symbols appeared in the air, rotating slowly, written in the same strange language that covered the walls. Then, without warning, the symbols changed. They became Kethmori script, then Hegemony Standard, then dozens of other languages that HFY recognized. A voice spoke, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. It was calm and measured, speaking in perfect galactic standard. "Greetings, children of the stars. If you are hearing this message, then you have reached a level of technological development that allows you to find and activate our memory crystals. We are pleased that the galaxy has grown and learned since our departure." HFY and Krovtal stood frozen, afraid to move or speak. The voice continued. "We were the ones you now call the Ancient Ones, though we prefer to think of ourselves simply as gardeners. We tended the galaxy for many eons, helping young species grow and learn, protecting them from dangers they could not yet understand." Images began to appear in the air around them. Star maps, mathematical equations, and pictures of beings that looked unlike any species in the current galaxy. The Ancient Ones were tall and graceful, with features that seemed both alien and oddly familiar. Before we departed for distant shores, we planted seeds throughout the galaxy. Some grew into the civilizations you know today. Others grew into something unexpected, something that even we did not fully anticipate. The images changed, showing a small blue and green world orbiting a yellow star. The planet was beautiful, with white clouds swirling over green continents and blue oceans. On a world they called Terra, or Earth, we found a species unlike any we had encountered before. They called themselves humans. They were not the strongest or the fastest or the smartest of the galaxy's children, but they had something else, something that made them special. More images appeared. These showed the humans themselves, bipedal creatures with relatively hairless skin and eyes that seemed to hold an unusual spark of intelligence and determination. Humans were persistence hunters. When they wanted something, they would pursue it across continents and through years, never giving up, never stopping. They were pack coordinators, able to work together in groups that spanned entire planets. Most remarkably, they were reality adapters. They could survive and thrive in environments that would kill most other species. HFY felt a chill run down her spine. These humans sounded dangerous, but their greatest gift was also their greatest challenge. Humans became more dangerous when threatened, not less. When faced with extinction, they did not surrender or flee. They fought back with a creativity and determination that sometimes frightened even us. The voice paused, and the images showed scenes of great cities and technological marvels that seemed impossibly advanced. We taught them what we could, then departed, leaving them to find their own path among the stars. That was approximately 2 million years ago, by your current dating system. We do not know what has become of them since then. The images faded, leaving only the crystal glowing on its pedestal. This message contains star charts showing the location of Terra, mathematical proofs of the physical laws we discovered, and detailed records of our observations of humanity. We leave this knowledge with you, children of the stars, to use as you see fit. But we offer one piece of advice: if humanity still exists, approach them carefully. They are likely far more advanced than when we knew them, and they have had a very long time to grow into their potential. The voice fell silent. The crystal's glow dimmed but did not disappear entirely. HFY and Krovtal stood in the growing darkness for a long time, neither speaking. Finally, Krovtal broke the silence. Doctor, do you think this is real? Could there really be a species like this out there? HFY looked at her scanner. The mathematical constants mentioned in the message were checking out perfectly against known physics. The star charts matched their current understanding of galactic structure. Everything about the crystal suggested that it was exactly what it claimed to be. A message from beings whose technology was millions of years ahead of anything currently known. I think, she said slowly, that we need to get this back to the Galactic Council immediately, and I think the galaxy is about to become a very different place. As they carefully extracted the crystal and prepared to return to their ship, neither of them noticed the small device that had been hidden in the crystal's base. The device that had already sent a message across the galaxy, traveling faster than light, reaching its destination in minutes rather than years. On a small blue world orbiting a yellow star, the message was received and acknowledged. After 2 million years of waiting, Terra's children knew that their secret was finally out. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from 47 different species sat in stunned silence as Dr. HFY finished her presentation. The crystal sat on the central podium, still glowing softly, its data now copied into every major database in the galaxy. Council leader Vexmar, a tall hegemony official with gray skin and 4 arms, was the first to speak. Dr. HFY, are you absolutely certain this artifact is genuine? The claims it makes are extraordinary. HFY nodded. We have run every test we can think of. The mathematical proofs check out perfectly. The star charts match our current galactic maps with precision that exceeds our best instruments. The energy signature of the crystal itself is unlike anything we have ever seen, but it is consistent with technology that could be millions of years old. Counselor Thexuli, representing the peaceful Neurali Federation, raised one of her 6 hands. Even if we accept that the message is real, surely these humans, if they still exist, cannot be as dangerous as the ancient ones suggest. No species could survive for 2 million years without learning to control their aggressive impulses. That is exactly what worries me, said General Korvan of the Hegemony War Fleet. The message says they become more dangerous when threatened. What if 2 million years of isolation has made them paranoid? What if they see any contact as a threat? Dr. Meltara, the galaxy's leading expert on extinct civilizations, stood up slowly. She was very old, even for a long-lived Kethmori, and her voice shook slightly as she spoke. I have been studying dead worlds for 300 years, she said, and I have been hiding something from this council. In the deepest archives and records that we thought were corrupted or incomplete, there are references to events that now make terrible sense. The chamber became even quieter, if that was possible. Approximately 2,000 years ago, there were scattered reports of something called the Third World War. We dismissed these as translation errors or fictional accounts. But if the humans are real, if they are as the ancient ones described them, she activated a holographic display that showed fragments of ancient text, translated into galactic standard. Nuclear winter lasted for decades. The sky burned for 7 days. When the missiles stopped falling, half the planet was uninhabitable. But they did not surrender. They adapted. They rebuilt, They reached for the stars with hands still scarred by atomic fire. The representatives began to murmur among themselves, voices filled with fear and uncertainty. There is more, Dr. Melterra continued. References to something called the Great Silence, when all signals from the Terra system suddenly stopped. This happened approximately 1,000 years ago. We assumed it was just another dead civilization, but what if it was something else? What if they decided to stop broadcasting? Counselor Yathek of the Trader Confederation leaned forward. Are you suggesting they went into hiding deliberately? I am suggesting, said Dr. Melterra, that a species capable of nuclear war might also be capable of strategic thinking on a scale we cannot imagine. What if they have been watching us? What if they know about us but we do not know about them? The crystal on the podium pulsed once as if responding to the conversation. Everyone in the chamber fell silent again. General Korvan stood up, his expression grim. I am ordering immediate long-range reconnaissance missions to the Terra system. We need to know what is out there. No, said Council Leader Vexmar firmly. We need to discuss this properly. The implications are too serious for hasty action. The implications are exactly why we need to act quickly, the general replied. The message describes humans as persistence hunters who never give up. If they are out there, if they are advanced, then we need to know their intentions before they decide to reveal themselves on their own terms. Dr. HFY cleared her throat. There is something else. Something I noticed while studying the crystal's data. The star charts do not just show the location of Terra. They show optimal approach routes, safe distances for observation, and what appear to be communication protocols. She activated another display, showing complex diagrams and mathematical sequences. It is almost as if the Ancient Ones wanted us to find these humans eventually, as if this whole thing was planned. The chamber erupted in dozens of conversations as representatives talked excitedly among themselves. Some species were calling for immediate contact. Others demanded military preparation. A few suggested forgetting about the whole thing entirely. Through it all, the crystal continued to glow, its light seeming to pulse in rhythm with some unheard heartbeat. In the observation gallery above the main chamber, Ambassador Kethva of the Neutral Zone Alliance watched the chaos below with growing concern. She had seen enough wars in her lifetime to recognize the signs. Fear was spreading through the galaxy like a virus, and fear always led to the same place. She quietly activated her personal communicator and sent a message to her government. Recommend immediate defensive preparations. The galaxy is about to become a much more dangerous place. Meanwhile, in a small office on the other side of the council complex, analyst Jorwin was studying the mathematical proofs contained in the crystal's data. He was a specialist in theoretical physics, and what he was seeing made his three hearts race with excitement and terror. The humans, according to the Ancient Ones, had not just mastered nuclear physics 2 million years ago. They had understood quantum mechanics, relativity, and mathematical principles that the current galaxy was only beginning to discover. If they had continued to advance at the same rate, if they had survived and grown for 2 million years, then their current technology would be as far beyond the galaxy's capabilities as the galaxy was beyond that of a primitive Stone Age civilization. Jorwin picked up his communicator and hesitated. Should he share this information? Would it help or would it just cause more panic? Before he could decide, his screen chimed with an incoming message. The message was short and written in perfect galactic standard. We have been listening to your discussions with great interest. When you are ready to talk, we will be here. Please do not be afraid. We have been waiting a long time to meet you properly. The message was signed simply, The Children of Terra. Jorwin stared at the screen for a long moment, then slowly reached for his emergency communicator. The galaxy's greatest fear had just become reality. The humans were out there, they were listening, and they were ready to make contact. The only question now was whether the galaxy was ready for them. Admiral Thekver stood on the bridge of the Hegemony flagship Starbreaker, watching the swirling colors of hyperspace through the main viewing screen. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, preparing for what might be the most important mission in galactic history. Time to arrival at the Terra system? He asked his navigation officer. 17 hours, Admiral. We are maintaining formation with the Confederation and trader fleets. It had been 3 weeks since analyst Jorwin had received the message from the Children of Terra. 3 weeks of frantic preparation, heated debates, and careful planning. In the end, 3 major factions had decided to send expeditions to the Terra system, each hoping to be the first to make official contact with humanity. The HFY War fleet approached with military precision and overwhelming firepower. The Confederation Navy came as explorers and diplomats, their ships equipped with translation computers and gift packages. The independent trader fleets came hoping for new markets and profitable opportunities. None of them truly understood what they were flying toward. Captain Yexara of the Confederation ship Harmony was reviewing first contact protocols when her sensor officer called out excitedly, "Captain, I am detecting massive energy signatures ahead. The readings are incredible." "Show me," Yexara said, moving to stand behind the sensor station. The display lit up with dozens of contacts. No, hundreds. Space around the Terra system was filled with artificial structures that defied easy classification. Orbital platforms the size of small moons, ring-shaped constructions that appeared to circle entire planets, long, thin structures that stretched between worlds like impossibly delicate bridges. "By the void," whispered the sensor officer. "Captain, some of these structures are thousands of kilometers long. The energy output of just one of them exceeds our entire fleet." Admiral Thekvar was seeing the same readings on his own screens. His tactical officer was trying to categorize the contacts, but the computer kept returning error messages. "Sir, I am reading at least 1,500 distinct artificial structures. The computer cannot determine their purpose. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases." "Weapons?" the Admiral asked. "Unknown, sir. But if they are weapons, then each one could destroy our entire fleet without effort." The 3 expedition fleets dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Terra system, maintaining careful distances from each other and from the mysterious structures ahead. What they saw defied everything they thought they knew about space engineering. The system's star burned bright and steady, surrounded by rings of solar collection panels that captured its energy with impossible efficiency. The planets were connected by a network of space elevators and transport tubes that made interplanetary travel look as simple as taking a shuttle. Between cities, ships moved through the system without any visible means of propulsion, following traffic patterns that seemed to guide thousands of vessels simultaneously, without any apparent collisions or delays. Some of the ships were enormous, the size of small cities. Others were sleek and fast, darting between the larger vessels like schools of fish. "Sir," called the communications officer on the Starbreaker, "I am receiving a transmission. It is in perfect hegemony standard." Admiral Thekvar felt his blood run cold. "Put it on the main screen." The display flickered, then showed a human face. The being looked exactly as the ancient ones had described. Bipedal, mostly hairless, with 2 forward-facing eyes that seemed to sparkle with intelligence and humor. "Greetings. Admiral Thekvar of the HFY War fleet, Captain Yexara of the Confederation Navy, and Fleet Coordinator Murdak of the Independent Trader Alliance. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Deep Space Monitoring Station. Welcome to the Sol system." The human smiled, showing white teeth that somehow made her look both friendly and slightly dangerous. "We have been tracking your approach for several weeks now. Our long-range sensors detected your hyperspace signatures while you were still 3 star systems away. We hope you had a pleasant journey." Captain Yexara found her voice first. "Captain Chen, we are honored to meet you. We come in peace, seeking to establish diplomatic relations between our peoples." "Of course you do," Captain Chen replied, her smile growing wider. "We would not have invited you here otherwise. But before we begin formal talks, I am required to inform you that you are currently within our system's defensive perimeter. Please maintain your current positions while we arrange proper escort for your vessels." Admiral Thekvar leaned forward. "Defensive perimeter? Captain, our sensors show no weapons targeting us." Captain Chen's expression became slightly more serious. "Admiral, everything in this system is a potential weapon if we choose to make it so. The solar collection rings could focus star-level energy on any target within 50 light years. The transport tubes could accelerate objects to 90% of light speed. The orbital platforms could manufacture and deploy defensive systems faster than you could target them." She paused, letting that information sink in. "But we prefer not to think of them as weapons. We prefer to think of them as tools for building a better future. Which brings me to my next point." The display split, showing Captain Chen on one side and a star map on the other. "You were not the first to find us. Over the past 1,000 years, we have made contact with 67 different species. Most of them chose to work with us rather than against us. Some of them you think are extinct. The star map highlighted dozens of systems that the galactic databases listed as dead or uninhabitable. The Veltar did not die out from plague. We helped them evacuate to a safer system when their star began to show signs of instability. The Morgoth civilization did not collapse from resource wars. We taught them sustainable technologies and helped them rebuild their world. The Great Kethwi Empire did not fall to civil war. They simply chose to withdraw from galactic politics and focus on art and philosophy. Captain Yexara felt her understanding of galactic history crumbling around her. You have been interfering with other species for 1,000 years. Helping, Captain Chen corrected gently. Not interfering. We learned long ago that the best way to handle a dangerous situation is to prevent it from becoming dangerous in the first place. When we see a species heading toward nuclear war, we offer them alternatives. When we see a civilization about to destroy their environment, we share clean energy technologies. When we see refugees fleeing disaster, we help them find new homes. Admiral Thekvar was studying the tactical implications. Your technology is clearly far advanced beyond ours. Why reveal yourselves now? Why not continue your assistance? In secret? Captain Chen's smile returned. Because, Admiral, you found the message crystal. That was always the test. When the galaxy's children were mature enough to seek out the Ancient One's wisdom, mature enough to ask questions about the greater universe, then we would know it was time to step out of the shadows. She gestured to something off-screen, and the display showed a massive space station that dwarfed anything the expedition fleets had ever seen. This is Terra Station, our diplomatic facility. It has been prepared for this day for over 500 years. You are invited to dock and begin formal first contact procedures. We have prepared quarters suitable for each of your species, and our diplomatic corps is fluent in all of your languages. Fleet Coordinator Murdoch finally found his voice. How long have you been watching us? Since your species first achieved interstellar flight, Captain Chen replied. We have been very patient, and we are very much looking forward to finally meeting you properly. As the 3 expedition fleets began their approach to Terra Station, guided by small human ships that appeared without warning and moved with impossible precision, Admiral Thekvar couldn't shake the feeling that everything had just changed. The galaxy's children were about to meet their older siblings, and they were about to learn that they had never been alone. Terra Station was unlike anything the galactic representatives had ever imagined. As their ships docked at the massive facility, they could see through the transparent sections that the station was not just built for humans. Corridors had multiple levels to accommodate species of different sizes. The atmosphere was carefully controlled in different sections to suit different breathing requirements. Gardens displayed plants from dozens of worlds, including some that the visitors thought were extinct. Admiral Thekvar walked through the hegemony-appropriate section of the station, his boots clicking on floors that somehow provided exactly the right amount of gravity for his species. The walls displayed gentle patterns that seemed designed to be pleasing to hegemony eyes, and the lighting was at precisely the frequency that his people found most comfortable. How did they know? He muttered to his aide. How did they know our exact preferences for everything? His question was answered when they reached the main conference room. Captain Sarah Chen was waiting for them, along with a human who looked much older and wore different clothing. Admiral Thekvar, Captain Chen said with a slight bow that was exactly the formal greeting used by hegemony military protocol. May I present Ambassador Marcus Webb, head of our diplomatic corps. Ambassador Webb stepped forward and spoke in perfect hegemony standard, with the proper accent and intonation that showed respect for a military officer of high rank. Admiral, we are honored to welcome you to Terra Station. To answer your question, we have been studying your cultures for nearly 1,000 years. We know your preferences because we have been careful students of your people. Captain Yexara and her delegation were having a similar experience in another section of the station. Their human guide, Dr. Elena Vasquez, spoke fluent Confederation Common and had arranged the meeting room according to traditional Confederation customs. Dr. Vasquez, Captain Yexara said, your people's knowledge of our cultures is impressive. But I must ask, have you been spying on us all this time? Dr. Vasquez smiled gently. Captain, when your people broadcast entertainment programs across interstellar space, when your merchants use open communication channels, when your diplomats negotiate treaties on frequencies that travel for light years in all directions, that is not spying. That is simply listening, She gestured to a wall display that showed thousands of signal traces. Every species in the galaxy broadcasts constantly: radio signals, hyperspace communications, entertainment transmissions, commercial advertisements. Space is filled with your voices, your music, your stories, your dreams and fears and hopes. We have been listening to all of it, learning about you, preparing for this day. Fleet Coordinator Merdek was meeting with a human trader named James Patterson in a section of the station that looked remarkably like a traditional trader guild. "Hall, Mr. Patterson," Merdek said. "Your station is clearly far more advanced than anything we can build. What could you possibly want to trade with us?" James Patterson leaned back in his chair and grinned. "Coordinator, the most valuable thing in the universe is not technology or resources. It is ideas, new ways of thinking, different perspectives on old problems. Art, music, literature, philosophy. These things cannot be manufactured or mined. They can only be created by minds that see the universe differently than we do." He activated a holographic display that showed examples of art and music from dozens of different species. "We have been collecting your culture's creative works for centuries, but we know that we are missing context, missing the deeper meanings that only come from understanding the minds that created them. We want to trade knowledge for knowledge, art for art, stories for stories." In the main diplomatic chamber, representatives from all three factions were gathering for the formal first contact ceremony. The room was enormous, with sections designed for different species' comfort requirements. At the center was a raised platform where Captain Chen and several other humans waited. Dr. HFY, who had been invited as the discoverer of the message crystal, looked around in wonder. The chamber reminded her of the Galactic Council building, but it was somehow more welcoming, more designed for actual communication rather than formal posturing. Captain Chen called for attention, and the room fell silent. "Representatives of the galactic community," she began, "we want to start by thanking you for making this journey. We know that our existence has raised many questions and concerns. We hope to answer those questions today." She gestured, and a holographic display filled the center of the room. 2 million years ago, the beings you call the Ancient Ones came to our world. At that time, humanity was still learning to use tools, still struggling to survive in a dangerous world. The Ancient Ones saw something in us that even we did not understand at the time. The display showed images of early humans, then scenes of the Ancient Ones teaching them basic sciences and mathematics. They taught us to see beyond our own world, to think in terms of geological time rather than individual lifespans. They showed us the galaxy and told us that someday, when we were ready, we would take our place among the community of stars. The images changed, showing human technological development over millions of years. But they also taught us patience. They showed us what happens when species advance too quickly, when they gain power before they gain wisdom. They helped us understand that our greatest strength was not our intelligence or our technology, but our ability to work together toward long-term goals. Admiral Thekvar stood up. "Captain Chen, the Ancient Ones described humans as dangerous. They said you become more threatening when threatened. How do we know that this peaceful contact is not a deception?" Captain Chen's expression became serious. "Admiral, the Ancient Ones were correct. When humans are threatened, we do become dangerous. But they also taught us to recognize the difference between actual threats and perceived threats." She changed the display to show current images of the galaxy. "Your species are not threats to us, Admiral. You are children playing with tools that could hurt you if you are not careful. Dangerous children, perhaps, but still children. Our job is not to threaten you or control you. Our job is to help you grow up safely." Captain Yexara raised her hand. "Captain, you say you have been helping other species in secret. Can you give us examples?" "Of course," Captain Chen replied. "Dr. Vasquez?" Dr. Vasquez stood and activated another display. 18 years ago, the Keth-Mori colony world of Vextar was threatened by an asteroid impact. Your scientists calculated that they had 6 months to evacuate the planet. 3 days after your government made that decision, the asteroid mysteriously changed course and missed the planet entirely. She looked directly at Dr. HFY. "Doctor, your people credited the course change to gravitational effects from a passing comet. There was no comet. One of our deep space engineering ships used a gravity tractor to nudge the asteroid into a safe orbit." The display showed dozens of similar incidents over the past few centuries. Stars that should have gone supernova but stabilized unexpectedly. Planets that avoided environmental collapse through the sudden discovery of new energy sources. Wars that ended abruptly when both sides mysteriously received the same intelligence about a greater external threat that required their cooperation. We have prevented 47 extinction-level events across 32 different species, Dr. Vasquez continued. We have provided indirect assistance during 6 major famines, 12 environmental crises, and countless smaller disasters. We have done this not because we control you, but because we care about you. Fleet Coordinator Murdoch leaned forward. If you are so advanced, why do you need us at all? Why not just solve all the galaxy's problems yourself? Ambassador Webb answered this question. Coordinator, imagine if your parents had solved every problem for you when you were growing up. Imagine if they had made every decision, answered every question, removed every challenge from your life. What kind of person would you have become? He gestured to the representatives in the room. You are not our subjects or our children. You are our younger siblings. Our job is not to solve your problems for you. Our job is to make sure that when you make mistakes, and you will make mistakes, those mistakes do not destroy you entirely. Captain Chen stepped forward again. The Ancient Ones left us a message too, representatives. They told us that someday the galaxy's children would be ready to meet us as equals. They said that day would come when you were wise enough to seek out their teachings, humble enough to admit you needed guidance, and brave enough to face the unknown. She smiled, and her expression was warm and proud. Today is that day. You found the crystal. You decoded the message. You came here despite your fears. You are ready to take the next step. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Dr. HFY stood up. Captain Chen, what is the next step? The next step, Captain Chen replied, is for you to decide what kind of galaxy you want to live in. We can continue as we have, with us watching from the shadows while you make your own way. Or we can work together openly, sharing knowledge and resources, building something greater than any of us could achieve alone. She looked around the room at all the representatives. The choice is yours. But either way, you are no longer alone in the galaxy. You never were. 6 months after first contact, the Galactic Council chamber had been completely redesigned. The old circular arrangement of seats had been replaced with a more open design that included spaces for human representatives. The chamber walls now displayed real-time information from across the galaxy, showing trade routes, environmental conditions, and communication networks that spanned hundreds of star systems. Council leader Vexmar called the session to order, but the formal tone of previous meetings had been replaced by something that felt more like a working conference than a political gathering. We are here today to discuss the first quarterly report from the Human Galactic Cooperation Council, he announced. Ambassador Chen, would you please begin? Ambassador Sarah Chen, now wearing the formal blue robes of a Galactic Council representative, stood at the central podium. Behind her, a holographic display showed a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy with thousands of colored indicators. Thank you, Council Leader. I am pleased to report that the integration process is proceeding better than our most optimistic projections. She gestured to the display, and the colored indicators began to move and change. In the past 6 months, we have established formal diplomatic relations with 83 species and informal contact with over 200 others. The Terran Deep Space Corps has assisted with 17 environmental restoration projects, prevented 3 potential conflicts through early diplomatic intervention, and helped establish new trade routes that have increased galactic commerce by 40%. Dr. HFY, now serving as the Kethmori representative to the new Human Galactic Council, raised her hand. Ambassador Chen, some of our scientists are concerned about the rate of technological advancement. The knowledge you have shared with us has accelerated our development by centuries. Are we advancing too quickly? Ambassador Chen smiled. Doctor, that is exactly the right question to ask. The Ancient Ones taught us that wisdom must keep pace with knowledge. We are not simply giving you advanced technology. We are also providing the cultural and philosophical frameworks needed to use that technology responsibly. She changed the display to show educational exchange programs happening across the galaxy. Every species that receives new technology also receives human cultural advisors who help them understand the ethical implications of their new capabilities. We have learned from our own history that power without wisdom leads to disaster. Admiral Tekvar, who had been promoted to head of galactic security after the restructuring, stood up. Ambassador, I have a question about defense. With humans taking a more active role in galactic affairs, what happens to our military independence? Admiral, your military forces remain completely under your own command, Ambassador Chen replied. We have no interest in controlling or replacing your defense capabilities. What we offer is information and assistance when requested. She activated a new section of the display that showed defensive coordination networks. Our early warning systems can detect potential threats before they become serious problems. Our diplomatic corps can often resolve conflicts before they require military intervention. When military action is necessary, we can provide strategic advice and technological support. But the decisions and the actions remain yours. Captain Yexara, who had been appointed as the first director of the new interspecies cultural exchange program, spoke up. I would like to address some of the concerns raised by the Neutral Zone Alliance about human influence on galactic culture. She activated her own display showing cultural exchange statistics, and some species worry that human culture will dominate or replace their own traditions. The evidence shows exactly the opposite. Since contact began, we have seen a renaissance of local cultures as species rediscover their own unique perspectives and share them with a wider audience. The display showed examples of art, music, and literature from dozens of species, along with collaboration projects between human and alien artists. Humans have not imposed their culture on anyone. Instead, they have become enthusiastic students of our cultures, often helping us preserve traditions that we had forgotten or taken for granted. Fleet Coordinator Murdak had perhaps benefited the most from human contact. The Independent Trader Alliance had seen its profits increase dramatically as humans helped them establish trade relationships with previously unknown species. I want to address the economic concerns, he said, standing up. Some traders worry that human technology will make our services obsolete. In reality, the opposite has happened. Humans have shown us new markets, new trade opportunities, and new ways of creating value. He gestured to a display showing trade volume statistics. Galactic commerce has increased by over 300% since first contact. Humans are not competitors. They are the galaxy's best customers. They seem to be genuinely interested in everything we produce, from the smallest handicrafts to the most advanced technologies. Ambassador Chen nodded approvingly. Coordinator Murdak is correct. One of the things we learned during our long isolation is that diversity is not just culturally valuable. It is economically essential. A galaxy where everyone thinks the same way, makes the same things, and wants the same products would be a very poor galaxy indeed. Councillor Thexuli of the Nerali Federation raised a question that had been bothering many representatives. Ambassador Chen, I must ask about something that troubles many of our citizens. You say that humans have been protecting us for centuries without our knowledge. Some of our people feel infantilized by this revelation. How do we move forward while maintaining our dignity? Ambassador Chen's expression became more serious. She had clearly been expecting this question. Counselor, that is perhaps the most important question you could ask. The relationship between an older sibling and younger siblings is always complicated. The older sibling has more experience and capability, but that does not make them superior. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Humans protected you in secret because we believed it was necessary at the time, but protection was never our ultimate goal. Our goal was always to reach this moment, when we could work together as equals, each contributing our unique strengths to common challenges. She changed the display to show current collaborative projects. Look at what we have accomplished together in just 6 months. The environmental restoration of Kethmore Prime combined human technology with Kethmori biological expertise in ways that neither species could have achieved alone. The new hyperspace navigation system integrates hegemony engineering with human computational methods and trader practical experience. The examples continued across dozens of projects. We are not your protectors anymore, Counselor. We are your partners. And partners challenge each other, learn from each other, and sometimes disagree with each other. That is how we all grow. Dr. Melterra, now serving as the Council's chief historian, stood up slowly. Ambassador Chen, I have spent the past 6 months reviewing the historical records that your people have shared with us. I must say that the picture of galactic history is very different from what we thought we knew. She activated a display showing a revised timeline of galactic development. It appears that humans have been involved In almost every major historical event of the past millennium, the Great Trade Wars, the HFY Cultural Renaissance, the hegemony democratic reforms, all of these had human influence behind the scenes. Ambassador Chen nodded. Dr. Melterra, we tried to be subtle about our involvement, but yes, we have been part of galactic history for a long time. We hope that knowing this will help you understand our intentions. We have always wanted the same things you want: peace, prosperity, and the chance for every species to reach their full potential. Council Leader Vexmar looked around the chamber at all the representatives. Before we conclude today's session, I want to ask a question that I think is on everyone's mind. Ambassador Chen, what do humans want from this relationship? What is your long-term goal? Ambassador Chen smiled, and for the first time since the formal proceedings began, she looked completely relaxed. Council Leader, what we want is very simple. We want to see what happens next. She gestured to the galaxy map, which now showed thousands of connections between different species and worlds. For 2 million years, we have been alone, responsible for our own development and our own mistakes. Now, for the first time, we are part of something larger. We get to see how other minds approach problems we have never thought of. We get to learn from cultures that have developed in completely different directions from our own. Her smile grew wider. We want to explore the galaxy together. We want to solve problems together. We want to discover new things and build amazing projects and maybe even find other Ancient One messages that will teach us all something new. She looked directly at each representative in turn. Most of all, we want to see what kind of future we can build when the galaxy's children work together instead of struggling alone. The chamber was quiet for a moment. Then Dr. HFY began to applaud. The sound was picked up by others, and soon the entire chamber was filled with the sounds of dozens of different species expressing approval in their own ways. As the session concluded and representatives began to file out, many stopped to speak with Ambassador Chen or with each other.